Hello, club members, and welcome to Redacre Stories with the Redacre Neighborhood Watch. Grab your blanket, cocoa, and fuzzy socks as we sit back and read some of the adventures our characters have been on. This is a limited series dedicated to the Blackout Club community and question games. Here's to our years of storytelling together. The boxcar was empty. Usually, it would make Nora relieved. Now, it just left a strange hole in her chest, but a part of her knew it was for the best. Most of the club members had hightailed it out as soon as news of the dead skeptic got around. The adults were helping kids out, opening the door from Redacre and into the world beyond. They were free. It was surreal for Nora, being able to say that and mean it, to recognize it as a new reality for herself and others. She wasn't sure if the day would ever come. It was also ironic, seeing that she had fought all these months for the chance to escape, to have a future for herself that wasn't being a soldier in a silent war, to not just survive, but to live like she always wanted to. And yet, she chose to stay. Nora wouldn't be leaving Redacre, at least not yet. Maybe when she did, when it was time to become a host and she would have to leave, it would be impossible to get past the border. Maybe she wouldn't even last long enough to reach it. But she would worry about that another time. Standing in silence now, bag slung awkwardly over her shoulder, Nora allowed herself a moment to think. She didn't have many of these moments after sundown, since it had, well, it certainly changed things. Did Nora regret her choice to stay in these moments? When the silence was drowning her? Maybe a bit. Maybe a part of her always would. But for now, she was still a soldier, and she wasn't done fighting yet. They were still around and kicking, despite being weakened enough for kids to make an escape, and she knew that. They were never going to stop. That meant more adults would fall victim to the song, and the children not in the club would have no other options for themselves. And then there was the hunter to figure out what to do with. But he could wait a little while longer on the list of priorities. It seemed like he was still on somewhat of a leash for the moment, and she could use that to her advantage. And that was only looking at the big bads in town. But Nora had her own little trials and victories of her own. She was on mostly good terms with the eldritch beings and adult allies she had met. She had avoided the eye of the hunter for now, which was always a plus. She was on their hit list, but that was to be expected. And she hadn't died yet. That was always good. But all of the friends and uneasy alliances she had made, those were the true victories. Chase the sun, that role model who shone in her mind and only whispered through dreams. She was always so far away, yet so close. And once she was completely faded, Nora could only keep moving forward with her message. Thee I dare, now, find thy voice, she supposed. That old variant that she called a friend was gone now, faded into a newer, stronger version. It left Nora a bit conflicted, but that new voice knew what she was doing. Nora wanted to follow her out of Redacre at first, but when she decided to stay, she promised to herself that she would find the voice again on the other side. And Grandmother Weka? Well, the Watcher was a trip, no doubt about it, but there was some sort of bond that the two had, albeit an uneasy one. Nora had helped her and gained information in return. Some of the words Weka told her would stay in her mind forever. Nora had to say goodbye to too many others, not to her father or his boyfriend, who would be there when she went back home, but to everyone else. To her closest friends, those who didn't know her by her codename Echo, but who knew her as Nora too. Those who were her family in every way except blood. They could take care of themselves. To her brother, the person she loved most and strived to protect for her entire life. The one she would find again once she chose to leave Redacre. He had left with a trusted friend, and she knew they would both be okay. To everyone else who hadn't made it, those that inspired her to keep moving, to always keep fighting no matter how hard it got, it still didn't feel like the end, even now. She still felt like she had to say goodbye to them. But how? Should she write a letter? Maybe a letter would be a good idea. A personal goodbye to anyone who might read it, to any kid who was dropping by for the last-minute supply run before joining the other kids as they escaped the confines of Redacre. Or even just for herself, so Nora could feel a sense of peace to say everything she didn't get to say before. After shuffling in her bag for a moment, she grabbed a spare piece of paper and a pen and sat down against the back wall of the boxcar. Several moments passed where Nora just fiddled with a pen in her hand, frowning. Where should she even start? How could she begin to express how much living hell had affected her? How could she explain how a club of misfits had become her family, or how the door to freedom was open, but she had closed it and kept the key in her pocket for safekeeping? It was just a feeling, really, as to why she stayed, a whim. Nora's mother had always told her that if there was even one person left that she could help, her work wasn't over yet. No way was Nora leaving Gwen to fend for herself. She still needs allies, and Nora would be just a call away, at least for a little while longer. There were other kids, too, and they all needed each other until it was time to move on. They are all fighting for a better future, moving on through the present while not forgetting the past. Yes, that was a good place to start. With a small smile on her face, Nora began to write.
Suma started out as a very shy and timid girl after she got bullied in her old hometown. Her parents decided to move to Redacre after, since Suma's father was from there, a lucid that moved away from Redacre for a time, so to speak. The first weeks were not easy for Suma, as she didn't have any friends and was just the quiet kid. Yet she did stumble across the club one night and decided to tag along, wanting to uncover what the town had to hide. She learned a bit about the voices during this time, getting interested in them, trying to reach out to all of them to see if one would want to talk to her. However, no one really showed interest, so she decided to dare all of them to visit her. The first one who would do it would be the voice she was going to follow. It ended up being SAO who showed up as the only voice. They instantly were nice at first, and from there on, Suma became one of their followers, trying her best not to disappoint them. Along the way, she met many new friends and even started enjoying the time she spent with them. Despite the fact she was an SAO kid, she was always nice, caring, and was trying to help wherever she could.
I was a man on a mission to expose the greatest con in human history. A town of people created an entire pantheon of gods with their own panoply of ritual songs, sacrifice, and literature, all to cover up the real truth. A truth clad in bronze, antlered, and standing under everyone's noses. The town trapped the spirit of the greatest elder god in the body of a deer statue. Now that the hoax of the voices has run its course, it's the time of the deer, and I will be there to laugh at everyone who beleaguered me when the god breaks free from its bronze prison and will deliver unto us all the thing we've all desired most in this universe, to know which final fantasy was the best one. Thanks for hanging out with us and enjoying some stories from Redacre. Until next time, stay awake.